Hello.
up?
What's up, man? What's going on?
What's going on? Just playing.
You playing? What are you playing?
Just playing some blues. Oh, I got some fun stuff to share with you today, though.
Oh yeah, what are you gonna show me?
So, have you ever seen? Okay, so I'm a huge. Well, we're both huge Paul Rogers fans, right? But have you ever seen Paul Rogers and Buddy Guy live?
No.
Oh boy, hold on, my friend, because it's so good. You're gonna love it. How you been?
I've been good. Busy. Stressed, but good.
Stressed? Why are you stressed?
Yes. Constantly. Because I
All
have
right,
children.
let's talk about that one.
And I teach singing for a living.
Yeah, well, let me have that. Check this out. Listen to this. This is so good. I forgot because I remember seeing them in a. So back in like 91, 92, I remember seeing Rogers and Buddy Guy play at a record store, but underneath in the basement in like 91. Okay. What was the name of that? It wasn't Tower Records. It was Virgin Records in LA, right in Hollywood Boulevard. And there was about this record and this whole thing. And then, but dude, when you hear Paul Rogers sing this and you see Buddy Guy just smile at him, you're like, it's so fucking good. I'm going to play this for you. You love this. Hold on. This is so good. How happy he is just to see. Oh my God, this is so But that phrase in general, from here, that right there is that's just the bomb.
It's amazing. He's the greatest. He's one of the rare cases of getting better as a singer, right?
Oh my!
I think that's way better than he's singing in the 70s. And he's singing in the 70s is incredible. But his voice used to crap out and crack and all kinds of shit. But this is perfect, right?
So good. How are you, man?
I'm good.
What's the word? What's going on?
Which word do you want?
I don't know. What's happening? Salud. Hold on. Let me give you a little. I'll give you a little cheers.
Yep. Little cheers.
There we go. There we go.
I'm just gonna switch this over because you're really distorted, and I feel like it's my.
Oh, really?
Give me a sec. It's probably just me. Give me a sec.
Okay. Which Marshall is that, by the way?
Origin something,
Origin 50?
brother.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to have a 50-watt plexi, and I could never have it above 0.5 on the volume.
Here's the key. I just got the 20-watt plexi, the 5 to 20, the SV, the SP20. I've already used it on 2 gigs, dude. It's awesome.
Okay. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I record all my guitars for the Dead Spirit Community stuff, the really super heavy stuff through this tiny little thing. People
I love it.
What amp do you use? And I'm like, tiny little 10-watt. I think it's 8. I think it's the 8.
Is 8 watts? Yeah. The SP20 goes. It's 5 to 20. One of the gigs I used 20 because it was a big room, and I put a baffle in front of it though.
Yeah.
Baffled it, and then the other gig I used it on 5, no baffle, and it sounded great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I used to go for the bigger the better, and the double Marshall stack.
I could have it my way. That's the way I would do it. Just turn it around. I turn it around, face the wall, and I don't care.
I started feeling differently about it when I got serious about singing. It was good when I was an awful singer and just blast the guitar and who gives a shit about the singing. But once I started to want to sing well, I was just like, man, I can't fucking sing over this. It's ridiculous.
Ah.
Like in a rehearsal room or something, it's just pointless, you know?
Do you use in-ears when you sing live?
No. I think I asked you about that. Yeah.
Some of the bands I play with want to use them, but I don't like them. I have them because they want to use them, so I go, okay. But if I get the gig and I can just use the wedge, can I just make wedge? They're like, yeah. I'm like, I'm just using a wedge.
My only knowledge of them, I recently went and did some coaching at a show. One of my students did a tour here in Australia, and he used the in-ears and that kind of stuff. That's the first time I've actually worked with someone using them and that kind of stuff. And he had his little panel so he can control his own stuff. And it's cool. It doesn't. I've worked with a lot of people that it throws them off. But he's good. There's a few people I've worked with, and they're always like pulling them out and.
That's what I do. If I use it, it's one ear in for 2 or 3 songs, and then the next 2 or 3 songs is the other ear in. I can't. I've had them since 2003.
Wow.
Some of the bands I've used, some of the bands I play with, you always said that's what we use. So I'm like, okay, but if I can use wedges, I'd rather use a wedge. Much rather use a wedge.
Much quicker in sound check, I find, with in-ears and that kind of stuff. It just depends. But it does kind of mean that.
I think it's worse on your hearing.
Much worse.
Like people think, oh no, it saves your hearing. No, it doesn't save your hearing. Like it's right against your eardrum. It's right in there. It's not good. Yeah. And that's the problem I find. I fight with different bands that I sing with. I'm like, it's kind of a bummer. But
how's the high Cornelli stuff going?
Sometimes good. Yeah,
sometimes good.
It was funny. I did a gig with this band that I've been playing with, local guys, and we did our first gig, and that's in the set, and it's like second to last song, whatever, of the second set, and I was actually sick. I had a cold. It was fine. It was good. It was like, okay, I'm happy with it. But then the next gig, I wasn't sick and nailed it. And like, they were like, you were a different animal on that gig. I'm like, well, I wasn't sick. And it's a give and take. It's kind of like, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen. Because I'm singing so many songs before that. I think that's one thing like I like to get across to students is like look if you're singing one song in the studio, 2 songs, and you get warmed up and you get that, like, get into that spot, that's your spot. But if you're singing all night long and all the songs are all different ranges and I'm singing like Supermassive Black Hole, Muse, which is all falsetto. So you're singing songs like that, you're singing songs in full voice, you're singing songs low, like Alice in Chains, like Them Bones. Like I'm singing that, that's low. It's low, it's not high.
For you, that's low.
Well, wait a second. It depends on what part you choose, because he sang the low part. He didn't sing the high part. That's what he sang. He didn't sing he didn't sing the higher. Well, I don't know what the higher harmony was, but he didn't sing that. That's what the guitar player sang.
Really, Jerry sang the high stuff. Usually he's doing the low stuff. Oh, there you go.
He sang in the verses, and I think we just stayed low. I stayed low, but I think they might have gone. The lead singer sings low in the verses, high in the chorus. But I'm like, well, fuck it, let's just stay, like, so we could get it. We don't make 3 rehearsals.
They always had really counterintuitive crossover in the harmonies. Yeah, they're really hard. I've done a bunch of those songs before, and I've recorded a bunch of them too. And it's they've got it's kind of supposed to be a no-no, but they've got the crossover in the harmonies where you're it's what gives them that. It gives them a different energy and things, and it can be really delicate but really intimidating, or really, kind of evil sounding at the same time. It depends on who's doing the main line.
That song in general, it's like I went and looked at it when we were gonna rehearse it, and I was like, I went online and said, who sings which part? And then I found out, and I was like, oh, he's singing the low part.
There you go.
I didn't think it would be, but then if you listen to it, you could tell. If you really close, you're like, oh, that's the low, that's his low.
Have you heard the he did an album with Mad Season? Have you heard that record?
No.
It's Mike McCready from Pearl Jam, it's Barrett Martin from Screaming Trees, and there's a amazing 70s obsessed fingerstyle bass player on it. It's more a lot of it is more 70s rock style with the bass high in the mix, and it's one because Alice in Chains stuff has like 10 layers of vocals in it.
Yeah,
people are just like, why can't I sound like Lane Staley? And I'm like, well, that's freaking 10 vocals. No one sounds like that.
Yeah, nobody.
Yeah. But yeah, most of the Mad Season stuff is one track, and he's a beautiful singer. He's a pretty incredible singer.
Who is it? Who is it?
It's Lane. It's Lane. Lane Staley from Alice. He's the lead singer of it. River of Deceit.
Okay.
Yeah, just really, really beautiful singing and not so aggressive. There is a few aggressive songs, but it's not aggressive. So he actually sings, and he can sing in that high range without belting, which for me is really interesting.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful singer. Yeah. Awesome record. And a more 70s style. You know, I mean, obviously I like 90s rock and heavy stuff too, but I'm more of a 70s child. So that kind of recording and sound, it just speaks to me, you know.
You gotta go over that Paul Rogers Buddy Guy shit. It's so good.
I'll check it out.
Literally saw them in a Virgin Records parking lot. Can you imagine? You're in Hollywood. There was like on Fairfax and Hollywood or Sunset. I want to say Hollywood or Fairfax and Hollywood. Could have been Fairfax. No, it's not Sunset. There's no way it's Sunset. But there was a Virgin Records there. It's in this it's like a little shopping area, but it was in the parking lot, and I got to see those guys playing that shit. And it was a bunch of other blues stuff. It was all when Paul Rogers came out with the Muddy Waters blues record. But to hear him with Buddy Guy was like, fuck. And here's the thing we need to talk about. What do you feel about? Do you feel that some singers, I know you do, they were just made for singing, like their voice. Like if you listen to Buddy Guy, and I want everyone to listen to him, even his speech, when you listen to him talk in an interview, there's a high end. I don't have that in my voice. Like it's it's like some kind of sibilance.
We've talked about the hiss.
Yeah, like you got to put that hiss on there. Like if I want to sing, if I'm in the studio, I'm putting that hiss deliberately.
Yeah.
Like I'm actually copying the track, high pass filter, jacking that, and bringing it into you hear it. Like that's what most people would do. But guys like Buddy Guy, that's in their voice. Like you could hear it when they speak.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I always say like a lot of my favorite singers were 16 or 17 when they were at their peak, like Paul Rogers. Like Tons of Sobs, he was about 16. That wasn't years in the woodshed learning to sing and doing scales and trills and shit. He just sang like that. And it's down to the choices. I don't know I think I asked you about this before. Like, I think when people grow up listening to soul and Aretha Franklin, they become very much better singers than if they grow up listening to Metallica. Yeah. There's just something in the way that you emulate what you think singing is. Like I grew up listening to John Fogerty and stuff like that, and I think that has probably made me
Steve Marriott.
Steve Marriott,
like that high end in his voice. Like, how do you? That's a tough thing to get. It's a sibilance. It's like this other thing, and they don't have to put it on their voice. It's just there.
Well, that's it. It's about how you receive the sound because it's there. It's there in your voice from the edge of the vocal fold and how it vibrates, but we don't receive it. So that's why it's in people's singing voices. So it's about what you do from here to here rather than generating it. That's how people trash their voices. They're like, man, I need to sing bright. I need to sing forward. And they're trying to go like from here.
Yeah.
It's how you receive it. It's there in opera singers too. That's how they cut in a room. It's even really like on a deeper sounding, like with bass singers, they call it harsh bass, like a lot of the bass singers, because you've got that high frequency on there. People think it's a low pitch, but it's just got this high thing in there, but that's how they receive it.
Do you think that comes from, and this is a thing, like, as I'm a part of vocal groups and like people I do, and I got my own like decisions on it. Like, I'm like, okay, I got my own. Do you think that is so on the old school of opera thing, like people think it's a mask thing? So some people think squealo comes from the larynx. Other people think squealo comes from here. And that's where it gets tricky, because if you listen to someone like Corelli or Delmonico, you hear this, you hear this squealo from
the
here.
the balloon squish thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But then if you hear other singers, you hear where it comes from here. It's not in the nose. It's a nasal pharynx thing. It's not in the nose, but it's super brighter. And here's where I go, this is something that can't be taught. And again, this happened, I think we talked about this last time.
We did.
But I've talked about it a million times.
Yep.
When I saw Seal live at the Grand Museum, I just heard it the other day, not from him at the Grand Museum, but him live. He showed up on my Instagram, and someone just took his voice and separated it, and it was just his voice. I was like, yeah, that sound can't be taught, can't be placed. That's something that's it's kind of like the Buddy Guy thing. It's this high end that's like,
yeah.
Just understand what I'm saying? It sits on the top, and you go, no, you can't get there because, I mean, when I talk, and I have a cousin of mine, my first cousin, so it's like my blood.
Yeah.
Same thing. Our tonsils are like, my tonsils are huge. Every time I go on to a doctor, the doctor goes, "Oh, I would have took these out years
ago." Do they still do that? Do they still take people's tonsils out? Really?
So here's the thing. I look at it this way, and I go, well, that makes sense. So if my tonsils are huge, and sometimes they get blown up. If I get a cold, they're going to get blown up.
Yeah, same.
So they're already big. The space is maybe like this in the back of my throat. If I could show you on the camera, actually, you'd see. But when I get sick, it gets like this.
And then you hear the sound?
Well, here's the thing. Do I hear the sound, or does it block some of the sound because it's muting it? It's soft tissue. It could mute. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't have an answer for that.
Neither do I. And it's like you and me. We always like looking at things. We're teachers, and we want to do our best for our students. And I get part of other groups, and other people think they know what they're talking about. These people think they know what they're talking about, and everyone's on different opposite sides of the spectrum. But I just go, well, if I put a cotton ball in front of my mouth, it deadens it. It deadens it. So if that tissue, which is very soft, that tonsil's like mush. It's like a meat tissue. It's nothing. Well, if you put that in front of something, it's going to mute it a little bit. It's going to mute some of that, which I never hear in my voice unless I'm like, I put my hand here and then, oh, so right now I could hear it. I could hear this. You know what I mean?
I think I got a lot better at because I always struggled with the lower voice thing. But
your lower voice is bright.
Yes.
That's the thing. I hear you talking. I hear this. It's very bright.
Yeah, I don't talk very loud either, but
right.
But you'll hear me in a room of people.
But I hear it in the room. I hear that right.
I got a lot better at kind of finding that stuff and differentiating that stuff, just by realizing that high equals small because high is fast. Because a lot of approaches and teachers I had were just like, man, you got to create this space, and it makes you think, okay, the higher you go, the more space you need. Yeah, but that's not how frequencies work. So the smaller, they're fast, so that you got to have a small space. So the smaller you make things, it's kind of like the whistle register thing. It's just that tiny, tiny, fast vibration. Yeah, which you can do. I can't really. Well, I can do, but then I trash my voice for a week.
What happens when you try to do whistle too much? It gets tiring. I think it is just tiring. It's not. I always say that. I go, look at anyone I think could get whistle. But I think if you do it too much, because once I found it, I was like, "Oh, this is fun."
It's cool.
And then you do it, and then all of a sudden you go to sing something that's meaty in your lower range, where you're like calling out in that range, and you're already tired.
It's one
because it's so fast.
Yeah, it's something I can definitely do, and I've experimented with, but I haven't found a way of doing it in a sustainable way. So it's not something I teach or use because it's not worth trashing.
No,
I find the recovery time has gone with my voice. Like I used to have a pretty good recovery time. I could shout. I could do the Joe Cocker thing. I could do the Greg Orman thing, and I would be fine. I'd be fine in about 10 seconds. I could blow my voice out and be fine. It's weeks. It's weeks now. If I do something wrong, it's weeks, 2-3 weeks, and I still feel it. So I just don't. I've kind of got to get stuff right. I don't think I'm one of those people that was made to sing at all.
I'm
I
with
don't
you
think I've
100%.
yeah.
I think I'm on
I,
the same page.
so I've just got to be a little careful with it. And same with like extreme vocals, that kind of stuff. Like I get a kick out of that stuff too, but it's not something I teach or do because I haven't found a way to explain what I'm doing or really make it sustainable. And, I know if something's wrong and I stop doing it, but then if you're teaching people to do it, that's iffy for me, So I don't generally. Yeah.
I have a couple students that took from me to learn just the registers that are the way that I learned them.
Yep.
And I taught them, but they're really good at extreme vocals. Like I have a student of mine can just go, oh, do this click, oh, do this click. Oh, he's got all the little, but I never know. Like I always go, listen, with that thing, when I have a student that says, hey, I want to learn stuff, I go, well, I'll teach you the one raspy thing that I kind of work with, one that works for me. It works great for me, and it's fine. If you want to go learn stuff, just remember, like, I still think there's a point. If you stay in that pocket, you're stuck in that pocket. And I think a lot of people aren't honest enough to say that. They go, oh, you won't hurt your voice. Yeah, well, if I do different ones every day for a couple of minutes, I'm fine.
It's fine. But doing that for a show?
Exactly. If you keep on doing it, you keep on going down that road, it's just like kind of like if you keep on, as a rock singer, if you keep on. So I look at the voice as covering in the passaggio. We call it covering, right? Or whatever you want to call it, turning the voice, covering, tilting. Yep. I call it covering. If I get too caught up in that, my voice gets real heavy when I got to sing open rock shit high. And it's like, so you can't, there's a balance that has to be met. And I think people forget that. I think the covering helps my high voice. Totally. It's no brainer. By learning how to cover in the passaggio, that has helped my high voice immensely. Huge.
Yep.
But if I stay there all day, if I had to sing a gig at night, I'd be stuck in the mud and I'd be screwed.
Yep. I think also, like, I sing with tons of grit all the time. I love the Paul Rodgers thing. I also like some of the heavy stuff, that kind of stuff. But I've found the better I've got at that, the less interesting it is. I'm really interested in that's why I've asked you a billion questions about how do I not sound like a 90s rock singer when I sing? How do I stop doing this? I want to do a free song from the 70s and it comes out like an Alice in Chains song. I'm not actively doing that, but it's just because I'm in the habit of doing it. But for me, that
mode,
that ability to sing clean in that mid to upper range is something I've become more obsessed with. And when I write songs, I sing them all clean, and then I'm like, I could do with a bit of dirt on that kind of thing. But people want to start with the dirt, and I think you got to learn to actually sing first.
Yeah.
You just got to learn to sing. I can't belt this note. Well, can you sing it? I can't do this with grit. Can you do it without grit? Well, no. So that's your actual problem.
I had a really good singer friend of mine who's one of my favorite singers. He's amazing. Just older than me, which is rare because I'm old. But he's older than me and he's so good. Like, just amazing. But he even said to me, yeah, I noticed I was getting caught up singing raspy too much on my high notes. I couldn't get them clean.
Yeah.
So I had to go turn around and go back to where I came from to go realize, don't do that too much because it's going to keep me in that mode. And it's true. It happens.
You get stuck in it. You get like my high range. My high range is more of an extension than it is a real high range anyway, like D5 up. I'm not really sure I'm meant to be singing that high.
Yeah, but it's pretty easy for you. It's pretty cool. I love listening to it. Like when I trying to do Sail to Heaven and I'm up there, I'm thinking I'm on an A4, but we're up on F, like that area, B, D, B, E, and F, and G. Yeah. And I'm like, but when I hear you do it, it sounds very free to me. So I always ask you about that. I always ask you about that. I'm like, I got to get that easier because I'm looking at that more like it's an A, like where I sing all the Journey and all that stuff. And it's not there.
Depends on where your voice sits. So, just for me, a D5 is absolute top of what you would call mixed voice for me. I think you could probably do an F5, a G5 in mixed voice.
I guess I do, and but that's the problem because I need to when I do it, I need to lighten it up, and I need to figure out how to get there easier so I can get there all the time. But my voice is so used to I sing in that A to C range.
It's the vowel. It's the vowel that does that too. The
it's
the
trippy.
gets you. Did you listen to that? I sent you that clip of I can't remember which Soundgarden song it was, but when it was Chris Cornell when he was about 22, and the song starts with, I think it's an A5 is what the song starts with, just clean, clear, and it's just hearing him sing like that made me realize he's not as aggressive as people think he is. There's something about the delivery and also the production.
He had a different thing when he was young, though.
Yeah, totally different.
He had a different thing. It was like, because there was only so many times in his career, and you could find it, find him online, look for those nights. Like, there was only so many times he could do that. I can't look at that as a technique. I look at what you do as a technique, or what I do as a technique, or some of the really good coaches I took from. I think they had a technique. I think it was fucking, his voice just flew up there, and he was like, "Yeah, God, this is awesome." And then the next day, he was like, "Let's do it again." Oh, it's gone.
It's not there. I think he got a lot better. Louder Than Love, which is the second Soundgarden record. So that would have been 1989. The singing on that that ticks every single box of what I would teach someone and how I sing and everything. Okay. Then the next one, it got a little bit. This is the record everyone loves, Bad Motorfinger, with Jesus Christ Pose, Rusty Cage, all that kind of stuff. It got a bit cartoony. It's like, how aggressive can I be? How ridiculous can I sing? Yes. And then it went away from that almost classic rock, Zeppelin, Sabbath type thing into something else. And then I think he started to fuck his voice up. And I think he had problems. And then Super Unknown, the one with Black Hole Sun on it, there's a bunch of songs in there where I know the guy that recorded it. I've spoken to him before, and he said it was wild. Like he would sing for 8 hours straight like that, but every single thing he sang was completely random, completely random vowels, random words, random everything.
I heard the same thing.
And he would spend all day doing it, and his voice would be cracking and fucked or whatever. He'd shake it off, and then he'd do a perfect take. But the difference being, like with the later stuff, it's all heavily comped. Like all of Black Hole Sun is like 20 vocal takes cut together.
What I had heard was that, and from pretty reliable sources, that he wouldn't allow anybody in the control room.
In the control room, yeah. Yep.
He would just go in, sing. No one's in there. I'm gonna do it. He press play, record. He would do everything himself because he was. I would say probably embarrassed. Like he was like, I gotta get this right. I'm gonna wait till I get it right. I get it. Like, yeah.
Also doing it in front of people, doing crazy stuff and experimenting in front of people is embarrassing.
And then it just fools a lot of people because everyone thinks like that's the way you're supposed to sing. Listen.
Not really.
I always go, listen to Stevie Wonder, because that dude still sings "Isn't She Lovely," same key, and that is one of my nemesises. Like I still sing unless I'm with a full band. If I'm with a full band, I'll sing it live. Otherwise, if I'm playing guitar and singing it, I'm not doing it.
So switch out the ear for an my vowel that everyone freaks out about. He doesn't sing isn't, it's isn't. Paul Rogers does it too. Every second, third Paul Rogers word isn't.
It's like that's just one of my songs. But I go, that dude nails it every time. Still, and he's 70 something. And those are the guys to listen to. Like whenever someone goes, I want to work on this song, they'll bring a Cornell song, and I'll go, why don't we work on this song first, and then we'll go work on the Cornell song. Let's bring this over.
I think also like for me as well, like when I hear what I call, like, I'm a giant fan of Chris Cornell, but you'll never catch me dead listening to an Audio Slave record. I can't stomach the singing at all. I don't like the acoustic stuff he did because his voice is trashed. There's something wrong, and I'm like, man, there's something wrong. Go and get that fixed. Go and get help. Like whatever. Even the very last Soundgarden record in the 90s, Down the Upside, there's something wrong. Something severely wrong. The what I call good Chris Cornell singing, like 1988, 1989, I hear that very similar to like John Fogerty or Steve Marriott. That range up to D5, E5,
100%.
with the grit that's in the sound, that's in the resonance, not from the throat. So when people bring in Chris Cornell and they're like, man, I want to sing Jesus Christ Pose. They've never taken a singing lesson before, never sung anything. And they're like, I want to can you teach me to sing Jesus Christ Pose today? And I'm like, well, how about we hit Credence first? Let's do Have You Ever Seen the Rain first, and then we'll talk about that.
Someone to listen to. There's someone that's test the time.
I think also the way it's presented to you, like the multi tracks of heavy guitars and the compressed drums and all that kind of shit, gives you an impression it's all a lot more aggressive than it is. Whereas you hear Credence and you look at John Fogerty bopping away at, like, you know, Woodstock, you can see the guy's not being aggressive when he sings.
Yeah.
And he's singing the same. He's singing the same. Like, there's a bunch of really aggressive Creedence songs, and he's just freaking standing there and sang like that, you know. Steve Marriott. Have you seen the live version of Black Coffee?
Everything. Yeah.
I've
seen everything.
He's such a confident little shit too. Like he knows it's gonna come out. He knows it's gonna come out, and he's also, I didn't realize how incredible he was as a guitarist as well. Like he's doing all the leads and singing like that.
Marriott 3 when he did the little trio. But it's
packet of 3. Is that what that was? Packet of 3.
Packet of 3 or Marriott 3, something, whatever he called it. But it was fucking awesome.
And he'd put on a bit more weight by that time. I remember in the 80s, and he's wearing like the overalls and stuff. I've seen a bunch of those shows.
But Black Coffee, all that stuff. It's like, listen to that guy. You just, it's
Glenn Hughes too. There's
there's a guy that we should all
sings
talk about.
exactly the same. Trapeze. Have you heard Trapeze? That record Medusa by Trapeze, where he's about 20. There's a song on that called Jury.
Yeah.
And his voice is it's actually a bit rougher back then than it was in the Deep Purple stuff and the later stuff. But that just, man, I can just put that on repeat and just be like, what the fuck is this?
One of the things I would say about Cornell. So Cornell, whatever, I don't know if he was self-studied or whatever he did. You might know more than I did. I knew that he did later on take with Ron Anderson.
When he had problems. Yep.
And here's the thing. I took from Ron. I took several lessons, many lessons. I had to go over there at like 7 a.m. I had to drive like 2 hours, wait at a Starbucks until it was like 7 a.m. because that was the only time I could get in. And I went. And there's one thing that he did, and I think this could have been why Cornell had a problem.
The belly clench?
Yes. So he would play piano. So he could play classical piano.
Yep.
I can't. I can only go like
smack the table or something.
And I have the recordings. I have my recordings. Yeah. You could hear this. So whenever he smacked the table, he wants you to tighten your abs. And I think that could have been part of the demise, because I know for me, I've gone back and forth, obviously, with support, and we'll talk about support.
We've talked about this a lot.
I've gone back and forth years and years, different this and that, and every time I go to that, when I say, okay, let's do what they say to Clint,
your range becomes capped, right?
I become capped. I get tired. I have to leave. And here's the thing: maybe some other singers maybe just sit in their bedroom. I'm on a gig.
Yeah.
So I gotta go. We're gonna take a short break. I leave the club. I walk out. I go sit in my car. I re-warm up without clenching my abs. I have to do it. I have to do it, and then I come back and I'm 5 seconds set.
That's one of the biggest things that people come to me. They've done a ton of courses and stuff. Yeah, I think so too. Like,
I think that could have been.
I hear it. I had more than one opera classical teacher, or they called themselves classical teachers. That taught me that kind of thing. It's like the bathroom movement type thing, or you clench in, or it's like lateral down, that kind of thing.
Yep.
That keeps you very much in your natural type.
Yes.
And that caps out for me at an F4 or a G4. That's it. That's all the range I have if I do that.
Right.
And that's cool. If you want to sing opera and I wanted to actually have a baritone part, that would be great. But that's not how I want to sing. Like, that might be my voice, but that's not how I want to sing and what I enjoy. I think that's what happened, because Chris Cornell's got that in-between voice. It's not low, it's not high. I think they used to call it a baritone or a tenor profundo. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
It's like, is that the one? Like, what's the lowest tenor?
Well, some would call like Chris Stapleton a baritone.
Yep.
Because he sings very relaxed and his low range, and it could be very low, but then his fucking high range is so gas. It's the best. So you could call someone like that a baritone.
So that's, people get caught up in that kind of stuff, and I don't think it matters for what we do, rock singing, whatever. Like, I mean, you could listen to me speak, or you can listen to me singing typo negative D2s and G2s and like whatever, like nothing. I'd do an A1 and a B1 any day comfortably.
Yeah.
The G1s, that's iffy for me. But I can also sing higher than a lot of people. So it's like where do I sit?
I don't look at that in our genre, not in our genre.
I don't think it matters.
Yeah, and if you're in a chorus or your choral group or
they're not gonna buy me as a tenor. Like if I go into an audition, I have before with things that are choir stuff. Even though I can sing in that range really well, they're not gonna buy that tone in my voice.
Probably super warm and big.
It's also just how that I don't fit that character. I don't necessarily have that ease in that range, like the freedom in that range necessarily. And there's a specific tone they're looking for, and I don't know. Like I did a choir once, and it was a paid gig, and it was like $200 a gig, and I sang 2 notes, 2 D2s, $200, $100 per D2.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, sure. I'm like, but hang on, I can sing a G5 if you like. Yeah, no thanks, exactly. No thanks. It's like they're like, oh, don't do that. Whatever you're doing, don't do that. Do the low one.
Yeah, that's a whole different animal. Like
I don't know. Like that's definitely what I hear in the Audio Slave songs. I think there's 2 reasons for it. And again, I don't like those albums.
Well, yeah, I do hear him singing that relaxed. When he sings relaxed and low, it's so rich. It's beautiful. It's rich and beautiful. Yeah, I hear that in his low. I hear that in his low.
Especially, I think he lost a lot of his low range, which is strange. But there's a bunch of stuff earlier on.
I think from Ripping the Abs, that would immediately.
You can hear it. His speaking voice sounded very airy towards the end. Whereas if you listen to him when he was younger, he was quietly spoken, and his voice was a bit lower. It was a bit like, hang on, you got a low voice. What's going on there? But then it became that taxed kind of sound in his voice. Yeah. Greg Allman had the same thing, like when he got older as well. And I thought his voice was invincible, one of those freaks of nature. But his voice did the same thing on that last Allman Brothers record. You can hear it. There's air being pushed through the folds or something. There's something.
How old? I have to look. How old is Buddy Guy? I think he's in his 90s.
Is he still around?
Yeah. Buddy Guy, ready for this? 87 years old. And I shit you not, like I still hear the same quality, even though he's much slower in his deliverance. It's slow. It's 87. It's older than my mom. You know, it's like old. But dude, he's still got this high-end presence that I've always searched for. I always just go, God, I wish I had that. Like that's why I feel the tonsil. That's where I feel. And I don't know. No one could tell me, like, whatever. You want to tell me different, whatever. I feel that's a instrument thing. You know, if I strum you're a guitar player. If I strum my Les Paul and then I strum my Tele, what do you hear?
Totally different, right?
Totally different. There's 6 strings, electric guitars, but if you strum them, you go, oh, that's different. Yeah. And I feel that's the difference. When I feel some people were meant to sing, I feel he was meant to sing. 87, he still sings some of the tunes in the same key, and he's still got that sibilance in his high end that it's that thing. I can't describe what that is, but I don't hear it.
I know it because I got to do 2 things. There's only 2 things I do to my voice when I record, and that's roll the fuck out of the low end and roll the fuck out of the higher end.
So you put that up in there. Yeah.
I'm just like, no, I get rid of them. I'm just like, get rid of all the low stuff and get rid of all the high stuff. There's not that much middle in there, but like from like quite low down, there's a lot of low end up to probably like the C5, something like that. I'm just like, man, get rid of all this low shit. It's probably because I like 70s like recordings too. They've always got the low end.
Like I said earlier, you seem to have that brightness in your low voice. You have brightness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is like, to me, that is to me, when I recorded people, whenever I helped other students work in the studio, that's a cool thing. Like we don't have to work with that.
Yep.
You have that brightness in the low end. I don't know how to say that other than that. It's brightness in the low end.
There's there's a cut in the sound. My my brother has kind of the same thing, and my dad actually had a lower voice than I do, which is terrifying. But he was loud, man. He was loud.
He was loud, and he had that.
He was an old school dude, but his really low voice, like Leonard Cohen style, really low, but just cut. You'd hear him above everyone.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I mean that's why they've got all the different classical types as well. You've got different types of tenors, you've got different types of baritones. They're like whatever role you fit, and how it, like the personality of the role you're supposed to be in. Your voice has got to fit. You know, I tried to do that for a little while, and they were always confused because it's like the voice doesn't really match the physical appearance. I can't really do the villain like because I'm slight. It's like no one's someone's going to turn a fan on and you're going to get blown over. Like no one's going to buy this. Like, can you stand to the side stage and do the yeah. So that never worked out for me.
Yeah, it's a wild thing hearing that. Like there's always something I've always missed. I had a singer when I was just a guitar player with a singer in my original band, and he had this dude. Oh, actually, I'll play it right now. He had this this high end in his voice. Let's see if I can find it. Watch. You'll hear this once he sings the higher notes.
And I don't understand what's going on today. Somehow I just can't see.
It's husky, yet it's got a sibilance that you can't recreate. Right?
Everybody's always preaching how to live. Why can't I be me? Yeah. It's my walk of life. It's my walk of life. I'm sick.
He's got this. It's like this cut.
If someone came to me with that and said I wanted to sing like that, there'd be two pieces of advice I'd give them. Number one, all I sounds are ah. He's singing laugh. I know it's a sound that you've always shied away from. Go for that ah, ugly ah sound like Ann Peebles, Steve Marriott. That's what he's doing, and it cuts. If you go for R-E on life, it's just a dark sound, and you won't get it. Second is how high the tongue is. You notice the front vowels stand out on that recording, and the back vowels don't. So he's receiving that sound better than the one at the back.
But if I raise my tongue and even do what he does, it's still darker, much darker. Because I've sung the song. I've recorded myself singing a song and with a straight EQ, like straight mic, 58, and I've gone, let's see and it's so, to me, dull. And I'm always like, it's always amazed me. He always is, because we did a million gigs together. He always had this sibilance in his voice. It literally is that was really hard to recreate. Like if I tried to recreate it, I was just like, I'm not gonna get that. No matter how I go, that my still has in it.
Yep, I get it. Different voice quality, and
it is.
He's not trying to make that. He's not trying to make that happen, and I think that's where people go wrong too. Yeah, I think you gotta go with it. I tried to go against that in my voice for a while and be like, I want to sound like this all the time when I sing, and it just trashes your voice. You just go with it. It's just like you make the right choices and you go with how you sound. I mean, that's what your favorite singers are doing. Like I feel like I say this every day to people. Chris Cornell's not trying to sing like Chris Cornell.
Right.
Like Seal is not trying to sing like Seal, right? He's just singing.
Right. No, I'm listening. Go ahead.
Yeah. Second you go outside of that, you start doing things which either you misunderstand or your voice isn't really designed for doing.
Seal's a perfect example of something. We talked about that. Like when I saw him, I was just like, and someone just put that up recently. I was like, that rasp that he has, or that I don't know what you want to call it. I call it this.
It's the salt and pepper shaker.
it's a salt and pepper shaker. That's a perfect example. That sound, like, how do you get that in your voice? Because that's a different thing, man. That there you could with that's not a vowel thing to me. That's
not really.
That's a fuck. I wish I knew what that was, because that's the thing. I'm always like, you don't hear that. Like, I've talked with other teachers, other coaches, friends of mine that are saying, my buddy Joe Retta has it. And you listen to my buddy Joe Retta and you go, holy shit. He just has that in his voice. If you listen to, you'll love this. Like, watch. This is perfect. Like, listening to this in Joe Retta's voice. Joe Retta sounds, I'm sure he's in the studio. He sounds like this live. There's no difference. Listen to the hiss. He's got a natural. Oh my God! How about this? So wait. So he does a good deal. How about his Zeppelin? Ready for this? This is scary, actually. This is Robert Plant on steroids. So it's Robert Plant, exactly, but he just took some steroids. This is our huge auditorium.
He does Plant better than Plant does.
Like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm having a coffee.
We did talk about this. It's definitely got the witchiness to it, the witchy sound. It doesn't have to be a Cornell type thing, but it's just that it's that space being pulled really, really tight and just receiving all that high shit.
That's
all that is.
He'll do the deal,
yep.
And I'm not lying. I can't find any right now. But he was in a Paul Rogers tribute, so
yep.
You would appreciate this. Exactly like Paul Rogers. Like if you close your eyes, you're like, I'm listening to Paul Rogers 72. Like it's
I always find that funny too. Like people that can mimic, or they have the personality where they can kind of ham things up. I often find that makes people very good singers as well. I never had that. I was too awkward and that kind of thing. I've gotten better at that because I think when you get older, you stop giving a shit. So now I'm just like, I gotta make some ridiculous sounds, and sometimes
do the same thing.
You know, the sounds you go for certain singers can be really funny. Like sometimes it's just like, okay, this is, I don't know, some ridiculous thing. I mean, going for a Michael Jackson type sound, that kind of thing. You've got to give funny instructions to people to kind of get that. He's actually got that.
You gotta go for it.
His voice is amazing too, but again, one of those singers I think was born for singing. Like, he does all kinds of strange stuff that maybe you shouldn't do, and his voice breaks and cracks and flips and all that kind of stuff. But listen to Dirty Diana. Like that's a serious rock singer.
So good.
Serious rock singer. That tone is your classic rock thing. So someone comes in and wants to sing Jesus Christ pose, I'm like, right, go and listen to some Michael Jackson, and they generally run screaming. But if you actually listen to it outside of context, that's the sound you want to go for.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, if you want to sing Chris Cornell, go for Michael Jackson.
Here you go. Here's some. Let's see what it sounds like. I haven't listened to this in a while. Let's see what it sounds like. Keep doing Paul Rogers. Same thing.
Freaky.
Sounds just like him. It's freaky.
beat.
Oh yeah, he's doing the whole. Whenever I talk to him,
is that a studied thing? Like has he just sat down and just been like, man, Paul Rogers is timing us off, and I just do this to my Paul Rogers voice?
Yeah.
Is that yeah?
Whenever I talk to him, I'll send him a clip of me singing. I'm like, whatever song I'm working on, doesn't matter. There was one recently I sent him. What the fuck was I? What did I send him? I sent him a live clip of me singing somewhere, and he was like, Dan, you sound good. Your pitch is great. Everything's good. You gotta put more body into it. That's what his main is. That's all he said, because he's never been trained. He just goes, you gotta put more body into it.
Isn't that frustrating?
And when I go see him, he had a Bad Company tribute. Dude, him singing Stevie Wonder blow your mind. You close your eyes, you're like, that's Stevie Wonder. That's not a white dude just singing some soul stuff. It's like dead on. And he just says, he goes, you gotta listen. He always says that. He's, listen, you're not listening. Dan, you're not listening. Listen. Yeah. Listen. And it's true. And I get it. I get it. But when you don't come from that, he's 10 years older than me. You don't come from that era of listening. You come from like, I couldn't sing. I took a bunch of lessons that finally could sing. And then, I put that, I did a video last year where I was like, here's me in a lesson. Look how shitty this is. Like, it was awful. People didn't believe it. They were like, oh, you're a natural high singer. No,
yeah, I get that too.
Yeah,
people say that shit to me too.
He comes from the school like screaming in your pillow, trying to, like, your mom's yelling at you in the bedroom in 1972, like, don't shut up there. And he learns to shape his sound. So he always just says, you gotta listen, man. Listen to the lyric. He always says that to me. Listen to the lyric, listen to the sound, put more body into it. I can't tell you how many times he says that. Wow. You're not putting enough body into it. And I just go, fuck, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Because I come from a different school. So it's tough, man. It's not easy.
I think, definitely the listening.
Easy. It's not easy.
It's not. And there's definitely, I think things are presented. We perceive things in differently to how they really are. Like, you want to sing, you want to sing 90s rock, go and listen to 70s rock, because that's what they grew up listening to and that's what they emulate. You want to sing Alice in Chains, go and listen to Elton John. You're going to hear the rolled R, whatever the end of, would have liked to know you, but I was just a kid. That's 90s. That's 90s rock. That's 90s rock. Right?
Yeah.
But then if you listen to Alice in Chains, you get it's presented to you in a different way, and then you're doing different things to what they were trying to do. He's trying to do Elton John. He's trying to do that kind of thing. Eddie Vedder was trying to do Eric Burdon. He's trying to do the Animals. If that first Pearl Jam record, the singing is Eric Burdon.
Yeah.
So if you want to do that thing, go and listen to the Animals. Go and listen to Bury My Body. Those kind of like soul type Animal songs. Right. He sings exactly like that with the slight shoutiness, very very bright. One vowel per syllable. That's Eddie Vedder singing. But people like what they like, and they almost don't want to get out of it. Like the harder rock, more extreme singing. I look to soul singers. I'm just like,
me too.
Let's go and look at Ann Peebles and see how she tears paint off walls. That's a vicious rock singer.
I look at soul singers and opera singers. That's what I do. I was telling like my daughter, my wife, and I go through my Instagram. Go ahead. It's all you're gonna find is it's gonna be soul singers, opera singers. This is where it gets funny though. Soul singers, opera singers, blues guitar players. Because I'm always just like, before you called, I just was playing blues.
Jamming.
So I'm gonna do that all the time. Soul singers, opera singers, blues guitar players, and Instagram booty models. Like that. That's it. But most of the time, it's the music of those ones. But those a booty model pop up from Colombia, and you're like, oh yeah. I'm telling you, like the soul singing and the opera singing, like the right opera singers. There is some. I'm glad I got into it as much as I did, because I'm starting to hear the difference. I'm starting to hear like an opera singer. I'm like, ooh, he's flat all the time. It doesn't sound good. He sounds good in this area, but really bad outside. They're out there. And I'm starting to hear these things and hear the squealo the way it's supposed to be, not the way that they're saying it is. Because sometimes people just trick you. They try and trick you. Like, no, it's this, it's this, it's this. No.
I think people really get attached to what worked for them personally, which is not, like what's worked for you. Actually, I think we sing fairly similar. I think everything actually lines up with the way we teach and what we sing, but we've come to that from two very different places and probably different instructions. And I think that's your job as a teacher. It's not to share what worked with you. It's to try shit that didn't work for you because it might work for someone else. So,
and realize you can't sing everything the same.
Of course.
You have to change it up. Like, I think a lot of people, well, like I get this a lot. Like, well, but wait, if I'm singing like this on these exercises, how am I supposed to sing like this, like for an Ed Sheeran song? I'm like, you're not.
Yeah.
Just go, stop. That's where the listening comes in.
Yeah.
That's where you go, when your legs don't work like it used to before. I'm not supporting shit. Like, I'm not trying.
You're kind of talking, right?
You're talking, or you go listen to Sinatra. You go listen to certain Sinatra. Sinatra was great because I was teaching this today, which was great. There was a lot of points in the Sinatra song where I'm like, okay, hear him right there, the support right there, great. And then hear how he's off the voice right there. He's off the voice right there, and now he's crooning. And then he's supporting, and then he's crooning, and he's supporting. Like, there's not one way, that's it, go with that. It's all Bing Crosby. I brought it back to a Bing Crosby song today, and I was like, listen right here. He's off the voice, crooning. All of a sudden, he hits this E vowel, and it's supported, and it's like above his baritone range, and you hear it. But I'm like, see, he's not doing the same thing there. Do you hear how that's different? Oh yeah, that's the key. But that's where Joe Reddick is magic to me. He's like, Dan, just listen. Just listen. I'm 54 years old. You think I would, but I still think, oh, I gotta work on my technique. Once in a while, you just gotta listen.
I've found a lot of things by just singing, just making the sound and not overthinking it. Like, obviously, I tend to overthink things because shit doesn't work for me a lot of the time until I do. But I've definitely found a lot of stuff from just being like, switch this off and just make the sound. And then you backtrack it. Then you're like, hang on, what am I doing? And then you tie it to what you're doing, and you can explain. Yeah.
That's how I feel about, like, when I call you and I'm like, come on, man, how do I get this fucking? And I'm trying to go all the way up there, and I'm like, when I find it, when I get that on a gig, when I get that in my house, when I'm practicing, and I practice all the time, I get it when I don't give a fuck, and I'm going for the sound. I'm going, what's the sound? What's the sound? I go, forget about everything here, forget about everything, and I just go for the sound. And then all of a sudden it goes, boom, and I'm like, why? Which is
why live shows get people, even if they're fantastic singers, because you're in a different setting, your brain's in a different place. It got me recently with a show. It's just, you're not everything's under your control, and I feel like my favorite singers kind of roll with the punches a bit, like the 70s free stuff. Paul Rodgers' voice cracks all the time. The more and more I listen to it, I'm like, it's squeaking and cracking, and that's a bum note, 100%. And that vowel, what is that vowel, dude? But then he sings the most beautiful thing afterwards, straight away, and it's almost like the train's about to fall off the tracks, and then he just fucking owns it.
Yeah.
That's I think a really good singer rather than being perfect, and people get too tied up about being perfect. I'm constantly pushing my students to just go out and do a fucking show, make that record, go out and do that recording, get the song done. Let's not talk about it for another 5 years.
Yeah, get out there and sing with a couple of bands. Just get out there and just do it. If you do it, you're gonna get. The next time you go to do it again for some other band, it's gonna be better. The next time it's gonna be better. The next time it's gonna be better. Do you ever listen to King's X live?
I'm sure I've seen some of their live stuff before. Yeah, I haven't seen them.
There's a dude. So I'm forgetting his name, but he plays bass and sings. I'm forgetting his name. I should know his name because I love.
Not Doug Pinnick.
Doug Pinnick. Yes, Doug Pinnick. Dude, I've seen him live, like not just on YouTube, but gone to see him back when I was in my 20s and 30s. where you'd go and you'd be like, the first couple songs come out and you're like, oh shit, Doug's gonna have a rough night. By the 5th song, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, the dude doesn't warm up. That's why.
Fucking, and it's beautiful though, and it's growly, and he's got so much soul as it is, like just the way he sings, and you're just like, oh, there it is, like there it is. He just goes for it. So if you slice that in half and go for it, learn some technique, you'll get there, but you got to get out. If you just stay and sing 2 songs a night in your room, that's
and you've got like a little pitch meter and this kind of thing, and it says, "Oh, my pitch is off 1 cent." I'm just like, "Oh, dude, I can't help you." Once you go down that's a very dark path, my friend.
My pitch is always off. My pitch is always off. If I'm within somewhere in the ratio, I'm freaking happy. I don't care. Pitch
my voice freaks those things out. It's just like, what octave? Where are you singing exactly? What note is this? It's I don't know. Yeah, I always break those things.
I see a lot of teachers, and they're just more concerned about that or about making a certain sound, and like what they think is going like doing a sound like that. That's going to teach somebody something? No, it's not going to teach anybody anything. And that's a sound, but that's not what encompasses the whole thing.
Try and put that into a word in a 15-song set. And see how that goes. Yeah, I've especially found over the last couple of years, like with everything like closing down and that kind of shit, like people coming back to it and being like, oh shit, I've lost my thing. But I had a thing from like being on tour for 10 years, but a bunch of guys coming to me and they're like, I need to get that thing back, and it's the only way to do it is to regularly get back out there and do it. Just go and do an open mic night, and don't say it's you because you'll get 4,000 people there. Just go out and do it unannounced, and go out there and sing in front of a couple of people.
Check it out. You know? Go out in your garage and crank the PA and like crank it loud. Put a mic in front of you. Put those songs and karaoke in front of you, or play guitar, and do it like you would. Like that's the only way you're going to get it. You have to do it like you're going to do it. If you don't, you're fooling yourself and you're fooling everybody else. Like in this room, if I did it like that, I'm just fooling everybody, because I could make every song
perfect
in here, 100%, make you so happy. Every little rasp, every little sound, every little thing I want to do weird. I'll make that happen.
It always makes me laugh, because I really hate doing YouTube videos, by the way. But when I do like YouTube videos with the tutorials on Paul Rogers or whatever, people are like, "Oh shit, you really sing like that?" I'm like, "What do you think I'm doing?" Like this, like without headphones or anything. Like it's you should be able to kind of just sound like that in a room, like in a different room. But it got me recently. It got me recently. There's one of my I've kind of found I've been working with a lot of my favorite singers and a lot of my favorite bands, which is freaky. And they don't tell me who they are. They just kind of start working with me like, hang on, you're that guy from that band. Hang on, I've got your records. What the fuck?
Wow.
So they come through Australia, and I went to one recently, and it was like, man, get up and do a song with me. Ran lines, a sound check, went in with the band. It's an awesome experience. But then 500 people walked in the door, and I felt very differently about it at the time, and I couldn't find my thing, and I was just like, no fucking way, no way. And I was just,
that's
it got me, totally got me. And there was a huge, because we lived in Sydney. We went and did shows every week and rehearsing every week and all this kind of stuff. And since being up here, I'm out of practice of being around that many people. I'll sing for anyone. I'll sing anything. Throw anything at me. I'll fucking sing it on the go. But being around that many people just got me. So it's you there's two things you can do. You can either never be around that many people again, or you can be like, man, I need to just get my chops back for actually doing this and going out there and doing it, so this doesn't happen again, because it's going to happen again. In March, I've got another one coming. We're going to do the same thing, and I'm like, I've got to do a bunch of shows before then.
There's one thing about someone like you, someone like myself, and some other vocal coaches that are the same way. And I'll say this because this is the truth. This is like fucking the truth. So we sing all day. We teach all day. I have to teach things and I have to exaggerate things to make a singer hear it.
To make a point. Yeah.
to make a point so the singer hears what they're supposed to hear. And I always say, you're not going to sing like this, but you have to. Can you hear what I'm doing? Like you got to exaggerate this. And then you also have to go up. Well, me, and I don't know if you do, but I sing like I got a gig Friday. I had a gig last Friday. I have a gig all the time. Like, look at your favorite rock stars don't have gigs every week.
No, it's very different, right?
It's very different. Always have to be ready, or sometimes I'm just not up to par. I did a gig last weekend. My daughter's in town, and I was at this gig. It was a shit bar. It's a freaking dive bar. Nobody cares. But guess who cares? I care. And I'm playing, and I got my backing tracks with drums and bass on it, and I'm playing guitar and singing. And I'm like, hey, listen, I'm having a rough week because I taught a lot. Just give me a break tonight. My daughter's like, don't tell everybody. I'm like,
don't apologize.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm going to apologize because it's the truth. Not that I didn't do anything I wasn't supposed to do. I didn't sing anything an octave lower or anything. I still sang the songs I was going to do. But it's like, this is not an easy gig.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone thinks. You're supposed to sing 8 hours a day, every day, 3
and always be perfect. No,
no
fucking way.
Name me. You know, guy like Joe Retta, my buddy. I'll give him. He probably could. But that's a certain individual. It's like a Michael Jordan in basketball. He's always going to hit that shot. That's a guy. I'm not that guy. I never said I was that guy. I learned this. It was a process. Therefore, it's not natural. And singing isn't natural.
I think it's a bad example for people to set to always put yourself out there as being perfect. I say it all the time. I fuck stuff up all the time. That's how I learn things. If I never screwed stuff up, I never learn anything, right? And I always say to my students, and I send the videos and that kind of stuff too, like I look at a song and I'm like, I'm going to screw that up. I'm going to screw that up. I'm going to screw that up before I ever sing it. And they always kind of laugh like I'm joking. And I'm like, no, really? No, we'll do it right now. You watch. I'm going to screw that up.
Yep.
If I don't prepare for this, and that's normal, and that's a better example to set because that's real. Otherwise, if people aren't perfect, they feel bad about themselves and they get in their head, and then they're, man, I didn't get this freaking vowel, and I'm just like, I didn't get it either. I got the next one. Or next show, I'm gonna get this
100%, 100%.
It's and also look at your favorite singers. You know, go and look at some live Chris Cornell. It's all over the shop. Wow, really, really over the shop.
That's the one I always just go. I know you love him. Yeah. Just go do a deep dive. Come back, we'll talk about it because, it's not perfect, man. It's never perfect. And then there's very few singers. Mickey Thomas, he's an exception. Stevie Wonder.
Chris Stapleton's another one, I think.
He's one of the best. I've given my students the ultimatum. I said, find me Chris Stapleton out of key and sounding bad. I go, free lesson. One guy. I don't know if he's listening right now. But one guy. No, it was the third note of "Sing My Sheriff." He was just starting the song. I go, he was just starting. He's on a radio. He had to balance himself. It was perfect. Yep. It was like the third note was like a little because he didn't know where. Like he's on a new mic. He's in the radio studio. It's like I go, that's not bad. That's not awful. That's just like he had to find where he was. As soon as he found it, he was off to the race. It was perfect. I go, you can't find one. Marcus King is another guy. Very good. Yep. Very good live. Like I can't. It's really hard to find him off. That's a rough. I've got Stevie Wonder stuff that I show kids to show them kids where he sets up. I go, look how bad he sounds in his low range.
So I can nail this.
Because he knows this is coming.
Well,
he has to do this.
That's what Chris Cornell used to do well. Like the way, like he's singing G4s well away from chest voice because he's got to sing a D5 and a G5. But people are just like, yes, but it has to be a chesty mix. And I'm like, that's not what he's doing, and that's not what I'm doing at all. And then it started to inflate. Yeah. It started to get thicker, and I started to be like, right, we're belting this. I'm like, dude, you've never belted B4s before, and voice just falls from that point. Yeah.
If you listen to there's a thing, if anyone listening, if they want to find it, it's Stevie Wonder. Just put in Stevie Wonder "Ribbon in the Sky" wedding. And if you listen to him, he's like, all right, get your cameras out, put me on YouTube. I haven't warmed up. Someone's wedding. Like, and you hear it. And it's very squeezed and very pressed. In the beginning of Ribbon in the Sky, it's very low. Yeah. He could go, how's Ribbon in the Sky go? I got another song in my head. I can't think of it. So in the verses, it's not very high. And he's singing Ribbon in the Sky, and it sounds very off key. His mouth is like super closed. He's like, he's literally like, listen to it. And then I go, yeah, but he does this deliberately. He got no warm up. He knows he's got high notes coming. Yep. He has to set his voice in a place. And when he goes to the high notes, they're
nailed it.
Dead on. Stevie Wonder, Ribbon in the Sky, Wedding. Bring it up. And people will be like, that's insane. Like
that. I love that. Univisions is one of my favorite records ever. Yeah. The elastic vocal delivery. It's almost like he doesn't actually sit on any of the notes at all. It's just an elastic band, just stretching in and out of the song. Golden Lady, all those beautiful songs. It's just not hitting that. He's not off, but he's just going between them. And it's like elastic band.
You hear him on this thing, it's like, oh, so long, but not a grave. Oh, that is star would guide you my way. He could have went, oh, so long for this night. But he knew high notes were coming. And if he was like that, there's a red, he would have been stuck.
He's gone.
He would have been screwed. It was so cool. It's just like, it's out of key. It sounds a little wonky. And then he hits the high notes. And it's like.
And from then on, he's.
Yeah. It's dead on. And you're like, there's Stevie Wonder. It's beautiful. And that was a very telling thing. I don't even know when I found that, but I remember finding it going, I get it. I've been in that situation. Oh, come on, get up and sing. Fuck, I didn't warm up. And of course, they don't want me to sing Jim Doors tune. They want me to sing something freaking crazy. Hey, get up and sing Sweet Child of Mine. All right. So I have to you've got to coax it in. If you're not warmed up, you got to go, okay, what's it feel like when I'm in there? Okay, let me get in there. Sound a little awful here. So when I go to the high notes, I can lean on it and then it explodes. That's rough, man.
Yeah, I think all good singers do that and have to do that, though. I mean, I think also the way you people that write songs and write vocal lines, they also do that same thing too. That's kind of gone out the window a little bit with. I mean, I don't listen to much modern stuff, but you can definitely hear people set themselves up for things. Like if you listen to, Bad Company, the way, actually that first Bad Company record, which I love, some of the singing's slightly out of key, which is really awesome because he's just like, no, I'm done. Yeah. I've done my vocal take. I'm going. I'm out of here. And it's slightly off, but he doesn't belt the crap out of stuff like he can because then he's going to belt the crap out of the chorus. And he sets himself up, and it's
always like the first verse is a little lower, and then the second, third verse he's going octave higher.
Because he's like, man, I've got to sing this live. So he writes it like a live singer. I think a lot of the Creed and stuff's like that too. Like he's written it. They probably kind of wrote those songs live, I figure, in any way, like all that stuff. But they're written in a way that sets yourself up. Whereas if you start on 10, where do you go? How do you sustain that? And also, people almost tune out. If you don't have that dynamic between something that's got some push and pull in it, you're on 10, it's like you're on 1.
Yeah.
And then they want you to push harder. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a thing. And then it's trying to explain that to people like, you're going to sing like this sometimes, and you're going to sing like this sometimes. And you've got to find that balance, how to get from there to here without showing that there's
a transition. Yeah,
exactly. There's a transition without showing that. How are you going to get there? And that's the technique. That's where you go, well, that's what technique's for. You rely on the method that you were taught, if it was in the technique, so you don't have to rely on just throwing darts at a freaking wall, like hoping, oh, maybe it's going to make it tonight. No, we don't want that. We know it's going to get there. There's a feeling. I know you have a feeling. Dude, when I hear you do the high shit, for like the Cornell stuff that I've called you about, and I just go, how do I make this easier? And then you just do it like it's like.
Because it is easy.
Like,
not because not because it's.
I go, God damn it! You do make it look so easy, and I'm like, all right, that there's. I know that there's something to that.
Oh, that's what I mean. Like it's not easy to do. Like I could never do that, all that stuff. It's something I've obviously worked at. So it's not easy to do, but physically it's easy. Like I can do that 8 hours a day. I can do it just on the spot. I can do it without warming up. I do it with my kids when they're screaming at me. I just sing back at them with Chris Cornell voice, and it totally changes everything. There is something for that. Something to that with me too, is realizing that this is not hard physically. Yeah, maybe a bit of mental work if you're like me and you've got to overthink things.
It's all mental work.
But it's if you listen to, if you listen to Say Hello to Heaven or anything from that Temple of the Dog record, with that in mind, that it's easy to do, you'll hear a very different record to the one that you're just thinking, man, that's really fucking high and hard to do. And he's really like, he's really there's a really good live one of it's Beyond the Wheel. Beyond the Wheel, I think I sent to you in Germany, and he's nailing it. He sings an O for everything, which is really strange. Yeah. But it's physically so easy, like really easy for him to do. He's not.
It's easy for me when I'm just in this environment.
Yeah.
When I'm here and I'm going, okay, I got the gig this weekend. I'm like, I got 3 days.
I'm gonna nail it. Then 500 people walk in, then you're screwed.
I know. No, it's more about after singing. Okay, so that's like we do 25 to 30 songs a set. Yep. That's around the 25th song. Yeah. So the voice is already thickened up. To me, this is where I look at it. The voice has gotten thick over the nights as you're playing, you're breathing, you're singing. The blood has gotten to the vocal folds. It's getting thicker. It's not like it is right now. If I was just to go for that right now, it's much easier. Yep. Much easier. After singing so many songs that are all high in range, I go, wow, how am I going to get that? That's the thing that always gets me. How can I create that? The only way to create that is to get everything else thinner. And that's hard. It's very hard. Yep. And that's the battle that I try to explain to like singers that are gigging. I'm like, yeah, man, if it's that high song and it's way up there, the G's, the F sharps and the F's, listen, man, your voice has got to be thin. And if you've already been singing for an hour or two, there's a lot of blood in those vocal folds.
But what do you reckon you would have thought or said if someone had told you, like, I don't know, 15 years ago that you'd be singing G5s?
Yeah. Exactly. Like,
right?
I would think it would be falsetto-y. I would think that, like, oh, I'm just going to reinforce, because I've done that, like on, like a perfect example of Here I Go Again. Here I go! That note, which is, I think it's F sharp. Whenever some gigs, I could feel it, and I go, oh, I could hit this tonight, and I just go. And it's full voice, and I love it. And other nights I go, no, it's not going to happen. So just reinforce falsetto. I have it again. I still have it, but it's more of a reinforced falsetto and not as much as the other coordination. I don't know what you
whatever that is.
Voice, whatever you want to call it, mixed voice, a heady mix versus a reinforced falsetto. To me, there is a difference, and I feel that difference.
Of course.
Yeah, I feel that difference, and if you haven't felt that difference, you don't know, and you gotta find. You got to find that. It's like that swing. It's like a pendulum. And I could feel it. I could immediately go, oh, no, look at this. Like when I did the gig where I nailed the Cornell recently, it was like within a week of each other. One gig, I didn't nail it. I had to like kind of fake my way around it, And then the next week I was like, oh, here we go.
You got it. You know.
Yeah, and you lean into it and it just comes out. And the band was like they were super happy. I'm happy. Everyone else is happy. And you go, yeah, but you got to know. And that comes with the experience and the practice and the working. Do you know what the difference is between those two voices? Because I can make them sound pretty damn close.
Yep.
They could sound pretty damn close, as I know you could too. You just go, Yeah, I could fool you.
I don't know if my falsetto would go that high, to be honest.
Yeah,
it just doesn't go there.
Oh,
it wouldn't go there for me. I don't think.
Yeah, my force falsetto could just go right there, and
Wow.
if it's in the right spot for that, it can fake you. It can fake me out.
Yeah.
It could. I remember years when I took with Seth before I was even anywhere the singer I am now. Like I couldn't do anything I do now. But he even said, he was like, "You have a facility for falsetto.
Yeah.
That's different. That's different. I can't tell." He was like, "I can't tell." And I was like, "What about this?" I do a sound, and he was like, and I go, "Okay, well, I'm feeling different things. I can do it 2 different ways, and I'm feeling different things." But it's a trip, man. It's and that just, I think, comes with experience. You got to go through those gigs or rehearsals or something. If you don't, you're not gonna find it.
Well, that's why I switched to the smaller amp.
Yeah,
For that reason, right?
Yeah.
Blowing my ears out with a 100-watt Marshall. It's just like, man, I'm not going to sing the way I want to sing if I've got this thing blowing my ear out in a rehearsal room. No way. And the other guy's got one too.
Yeah. Got the 100-watt Marshall sounds so damn good. I love my Plexi sounds when it's on 20. When it's on 5, it sounds good, but when it's on the 20, and then you balance out the 2 volumes and you're bridging the 2 things, and just like, oh my God.
I kind of moved away from them the more I did recording. I find they're really hard to record. They sound beautiful in a room, but capturing that sound on recording is really hard. I think the smaller the amp, the easier it is to capture the sound of that amp.
I think nowadays too, we got all those simulators and everything. You can just, if you're looking just for rhythm sound and that's it.
Yep.
It's there. For me, it's more about the solo thing. When you go to solo, if I don't feel that sponge, I feel weird. And if it's a too low wattage, I don't feel that sponge.
Yep.
Or no, if it's low wattage but not the right, like my 65 behind me, that thing is only 18 watts.
Yep.
And I can adjust it. So you get that feeling under your fingers when you're soloing. And then you go, okay, it's there. It feels like a 100-watt amp.
Yep.
That's what I like. It's more about the soloing thing. The rhythm thing, I'd be like, I would use one of those little pedals, that the new Plexi pedal that just came out.
What's a Plexi pedal?
So is it Universal Audio? It might be Universal Audio. They came out with a 65 Deluxe for a Fender, but I believe they came out with a Plexi, Marshall Plexi, and it's in a pedal. And it's, you plug that in, you just go, rhythm-wise, it sounds like a Plexi. Solo-wise, I still don't feel it has the thing under your fingers. But rhythm-wise, oh my God, it sounds sick. Like all those, I think a lot of those emulators do.
For me, it was, I mean, a lot of the Zeppelin stuff was I think it's the 5-watt Supro amps, the tiny 5, and that's, I mean, it's a pretty classic rock sound. Freddie King's one of my favorite singers and guitarists as well. He's just got that tiny little box thing, like just a tiny little 50-watt, whatever the hell that thing was. And that dude, his guitar leads sound like glass shattering.
They split.
Inexplicable. It's a sound in the fingers, also the steel finger picks.
Yeah.
But he's one that's got that voice you can't emulate. He's got that.
He's got that voice.
Sam
Moore. How about Sam Moore? God damn. I think he's still alive. I think he's still alive and still sings that good. And if he's not, he just passed, because otherwise, I remember seeing him 8 years ago, and still everything same key, killing, sounded like it was nothing, and he was 80 years old or however old he is. Well, sick.
Paul Rogers is 74, and I think he's doing some of the best singing I've heard.
Did he have a stroke? I heard he had a stroke.
I did. Yeah. Yep.
Did we talk about
read that recently too?
Did we talk
about
that?
Talk about this.
Oh, that might have been another friend of mine. So I heard he had a stroke, and I heard he was waiting to put something out because he was like, I just want to make sure that
my voice is there.
I'm still doing me.
There's a difference in the way he sings, in the way he goes for stuff. It's actually slightly more masculine than it was. Like the 70s stuff, it's very on the edge of the vocal folds, and it's very bright, and it's thin. It's very thin. But now he goes out of the way to be very masculine with the sound and makes different vowel choices. So I actually wonder whether that's part of it, because I always really loved his singing because he sings every single sound, every single word, every single sound is a vowel.
Yeah.
He doesn't just sing everything as eh.
No,
You know?
not at all.
But he's gone a little bit closer to doing, you know, probably like 3 or 4 vowel sounds to get a very specific way he delivers stuff. But yeah, if he's had a stroke, maybe that's got something to do with it.
I wonder how long ago he had the stroke. I don't know. But God, when I listen to this, we're playing this again.
How many of
When I hear
you
this,
have gotten a good
is some kind of wonderful with Buddy Guy, dude. I can't wait for you to listen to this again on your own, because I just think. Here's Buddy Guy, which again, he's got that high end thing. Rogers. And here's Rogers. The melody. That is a delivery, dude.
You know, he's got that almost. I don't know whether you're not allowed to say anything anymore, but like he's got almost like it's almost like a campness to the way he delivers, like his vocal lines. Like, and that, I feel like that really helps with that kind of range in my voice, the D4 kind of up in that range. There's almost a campness to it. It's probably a better word I can use. But
what do you mean campness?
Let me think of an example. Like, I can't think of an example. I'll work out a better example for it. But it's a slight theatrical campness to it. You know, like.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe that's an Aussie term. I'm sure it's a term you're not allowed to use anymore, but I'm going to use it anyway.
Yeah,
like it's almost like a sassy, slightly not masculine type.
Yeah.
Type thing. Yeah, like and all the free stuff. Like there's a song off the first free record. I have no idea what key it's in, but like she was a wild Indian woman and she drove me wild. She was a wild Indian woman till she had my child. It's got this almost like campness to it. I don't know how to explain.
I see what you're saying.
It's like a theatrical thing to it that isn't just singing and hitting the notes and hitting the vowels. It's like there's this theater to it or something. I hear that in his voice.
It's almost like a crooning.
Well, he went for the lower stuff on that record.
Like a crooner, like a jazz croon guy. There's not a super amount of support. It's more this like this very open space. I was just explaining this to a student today. I was like, I can't explain it, but it's not like I found this Bing Crosby example that was perfect, because I was like, we were listening to it, and then all of a sudden Bing supported a note, and you heard the difference immediately, and I was like, that's the difference. There's Bing supporting, there's Bing crooning. And that was what Sinatra was. He wanted to be Bing Crosby.
Well, I think that's the big difference in the 70s free stuff. It's not, I mean, what you would call support in classical is not what he's doing. That's not hard to do. That's not hard to sing high like that either. And I never put anything into it physically unless I'm singing harder rock stuff. He definitely supports a lot more now, and he's a lot more physical, and he puts more body into it, and you can see he's physically setting himself up. It's something in the tone that people go for, like almost a theatrical tone that lets their voice just gets it away from speaking voice and gets it. I mean, that first free record is much more my natural range of singing. I think that's easy to sing like that. He got higher and higher, and all through the 70s, he's just
it got such a cool high end on it too. It was a young sound. And then when he got into Bad Company, it had a gruffness to it that the Free didn't have. Free had a gruffness, but it had a different gruff. It had a growl underneath it. And then he got older, and it just got better. It just got better.
He's so clean.
Better.
He's really clean and rounded. It has almost like that slight raised larynx.
Yeah, man.
Type thing, which I wouldn't go for, but it's so clean. He's just you don't get cleaner and clearer as a singer when you age, right? He does.
So you just said that slight raised larynx. So when you teach, what do you talk about? Do you talk about the larynx at all?
Depends on the person. Depends on the person, man.
The person. And what do you feel about it?
It depends on what they're going for. Same thing with the Freddie King thing. That's a raised larynx. That sound, that rolled, rounded kind of sound is a slightly raised larynx. Like you're not stretching so much against it. I guess you would say it's maybe less covered, something like that, because you're not stretching. You're not tilting.
Or shouting.
I don't hear it in 70s Paul Rodgers. I hear it now. Always heard it in Freddie King. That's what's so hard to emulate, because that's too high for me to mess with the position of the larynx.
That's
I think.
Hard, man. That's hard. He's so strong. I have a friend of mine. His name is Andrew Gromiller, and hearing that dude saying Freddie King, you're just like,
there's something.
Awesome.
I think there's things that I think some people are just freaks in the way they do stuff. Like someone like Bruce Springsteen shouldn't have been shouting like that for 40 years and still have a voice. He has off nights, but he still got his voice.
Yeah, not much,
I hear on all the Freddie King records, especially Burglar, because it's a better production than a lot of stuff. He's constantly opening the port to the nose when he's singing, constantly. So half of his singing is through the nose, and you can hear him do it. You can actually hear it. Chuck some headphones on and have a listen to it.
I want to check that out, because I feel that's always like a detriment.
You would think so.
You feel the chords open and it gets airy, but he probably just.
I have no idea. You hear him doing it like he definitely opens up and lets air through the nose on the wrong, what I would call the wrong sounds, but it's Freddie King. So like, how can you fault that? And he does that and it works for him. I think he does it before he belts stuff. It's like there's this little click in the nose and then he belts stuff. And it's totally not what you're supposed to do. But there's certain singers that just go for something or do something that works for them. And that's a big thing. You've got to find the thing that works for you. And what works for me, don't just do that.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to do something totally different. Like talking about the larynx, I find the less you talk about stuff and the more you let the student kind of tell you what's going on, the more you can then respond to that, instead of being like, right, we've got to do this, we've got to do this, we've got to find this muscle, we've got to do that kind of stuff. That's a recipe for disaster with learning to sing, I think. Throwing too much at people.
Yeah, this guy Andrew Gromiller that I grew up listening to, because I wasn't a singer when I met him.
Yep.
But dude, when he would sing, I'm gonna see if I can find him singing, because he was a huge Freddie King fan. So yeah, he could sing Freddie King like nobody's. But like Stevie Wonder was tough for him. But it wasn't that it was Rangers. Like, I heard him sing Zeppelin.
Yeah.
But it was just like the sounds he would make. Let me see if I can. I know I have him singing somewhere, which is pretty cool. Which is wild that I have him singing this. I downloaded it. Where is it? You would love this. You'd actually love this singer. He was someone like I first saw and I was like, who is this dude? Like, and he was a local guy.
Yep.
There he is. Here it is. Him on acoustic.
Okay, yeah.
That's got a Paul Rodgers.
What's that?
That's got a Paul Rodgers-ness to it. That's pretty similar to.
White dude with soul for days. Like, you just hear him, you're just like, you kidding me?
Raised larynx.
Remember him? Imagine him singing Freddie King, like nails.
That's larynx up, and I find that some people can do that type of. That's like the sound of the vocal folds going.
Yeah.
I can't. I would pay for that for weeks, man.
I do it for about a little hit here and there, and then I'm done.
It's for me. Yeah.
God, he used to blow me away when I would hear him sing, and I just love the sound of his tone. It's live in a little room.
Some love to my life. When the burden of your love in my strife. When you send some love to my life.
It's beautiful. It's just beautiful.
Lots of
Yeah, just
singing all my favorite vowels.
So I hear send. I don't hear any and you send some love through my send.
Is it send? So instead of going like, is it send?
Send. Send some love. Yeah, I
gotta send some love. Sends.
Yeah. So you look, I look, which is the same
sound. They're the same sound.
Yeah, one's back, one's
front,
one's back. But he was just one of those singers, like he would do Freddie King, and I would just be like, you gotta be shitting me, like just so good. And like smoking joints, drinking tequila, smoking joints, doing blow, nothing affected his voice. You would get
some people are freaks, man. Some people are freaks with that.
I had a guitar player friend of mine who was my guitar player for years in a disco band, who was in his band. That's how I met him. And I said, Tom, you got to come with the audition. But anyway, that singer, I said, what's up with him? What does he do? What's his rituals? I ended up taking lessons from the woman he took lessons from. Her name was Georgia Lewis, who was a famous gospel singer. First lady of gospel on TV that you could find on TV back in the whatever. She was awesome. I learned nothing. I blew my voice out every week. It was horrible. She was so sweet. He learned from her, but he said, this is where I learned something. This is something that might help some singers. Maybe hurt, maybe help. You would do a mixture in the morning of warm water, cayenne pepper, honey, and lemon. And you could gargle it and just sip it. Yeah. But he and many other singers who I met to this day still swear by that concoction. I don't know why that works, but that concoction seemed to help him. And I'm not lying when I say I probably met 3 or 4 other singers. I say, yeah, that's what I do.
Do you reckon any of that physical stuff like teas and that kind of stuff actually do anything for your voice?
Nothing for me. Nothing for me. I drink water. I drink tequila.
The less.
Yep. Tequila and water seem to help me the best. That's it.
I'd probably skip the tequila. But yeah, what?
I can't skip the tequila, but my daughter left me because of that. But I've tried. But water, I just go whenever someone goes, should I do honey? This I go, nothing hits it anyway. So just
exactly right.
A bunch of water and you're fine.
Early in the day, like hours beforehand, like so that they're actually hydrated internally in the fibers.
Yeah, especially if you're flying. Like I do a lot of fly gigs, and I would always make sure the day before I was overwatered, and then I get up the next morning and fly. I was still very hydrated. I drink all day in the airports. Never let yourself get dehydrated. Yep. That was huge for me. But yeah, for some reason that concoction, no lie, like I've heard that from.
I'll try it one day and we'll see.
Many, it's
actually.
Warm, cayenne pepper, lemon, and honey.
I don't need honey, but I'll do something similar and see if it works.
Yeah, check it out. Check it out. Like there's something about it. I don't know what it does, but they say for if you've got a lot of phlegm or if you feel you need to soothe it because I mean it stings. I've done it. It opens you up. Like you're like woo.
Blood flow. You get blood flow from the cayenne, I guess. It'll do it.
I think it's that. It's kind of like it probably with blood vessels, it probably dilates the blood vessels a little bit because it gets the blood going. So I think so. I think there's something to it. Tommy was like, dude, he would get wasted, drink, coke, sing his ass off, walk out of there, wake up the next morning. I'd hear him gargling in the morning. We do rehearsal the next morning, 10 a.m. He'd sing like him.
I pay for things too much these days. Recovery time's gone for me.
How old are you now?
42.
Yeah, it definitely gets rougher as you get older. I'll say that, but not. Once my technique got better, it didn't affect me as much. I would say my recovery time was worse in my 30s, in a way, because I was singing way worse.
Because you're trashing your voice at the time.
But now my recovery time is pretty minimal, I would say.
I try and catch myself before I do anything. That's just my thing these days. Like even making sounds, risky sounds, that kind of stuff. You just take them out. It's not worth it. Not worth it at this point if you're serious about it. And you know.
How much do you sing in your lessons? You sing a lot. How much do I sing?
Yeah.
You sing me
a lot. I demonstrate. People bring in something. I demonstrate it for them. which maybe isn't a great idea, but
no, I don't think it's good. I think we're wrong in doing that too much, and because it's detrimental. Because, like I said, if I do like I have a gig Friday, so I started teaching today. Yesterday was Christmas. I started teaching today, but I have a gig Friday, and if I demonstrate that much, I mean, I'm taking a toll. I'm taking a toll out of my voice, you know. And then I got the gig. I'm going to teach on Friday and gig. It's hard to not do it. It's hard to not demonstrate.
I found a good way to step around that is to set it up with, look, I'm going to do it this way, and look, I'm going to do the Paul Rogers version of this pop song you want to learn, or this is going to be really Chris Cornell, like basically the thing you do well and you can do stand on your head.
Yep.
You frame it with that. But look, I'm going to do it this way. What you're looking for is actually this.
Gotcha.
So let's find this and do it that way. I found, rather than, because people bring in pop songs, and I don't listen to pop. I have no idea what people are doing. So I've just found the best way to do it. Be like, look, this is going to be a bit more of a rock version of that, but this is what you want to go for.
That's a good move. Yeah.
Yeah, I found that's been much better, and I can teach 8 hours, no problem. It's fine. But second you got me singing Ed Sheeran, I'm done. My voice is done.
Isn't that funny? Because that, you know, people would think, oh, he's so easy. Like, no, you don't understand, because
it's a high speaking voice. That's really hard for me.
Voice. Thank you very much.
Really hard. And it's not the right vowels, really.
It's how high can your voice go speaking? So he's saying on the record, when your legs don't work. He sings live, when your legs don't work.
Yeah. When your legs don't work like they used to do. Not gonna happen.
It's an animal. That's a different animal. Just that full step. That's a full step. That's a different animal. He couldn't sustain this because he was getting burned out.
I couldn't hit the top one. When you're, I've got to modify that. I can't hit it.
But go here.
When your legs.
No. When your legs.
When your legs. Even that.
There it is.
That's almost out of reach for me.
Right. But that's the thing. He's here on the record. He's here what we just did live because he knew.
He went out on tour and he couldn't do it.
And people are like, but no. I'm like, you got to understand, this is the way it works. Like, there's a speaking voice of singing, and it's not speech level singing. That's not what Seth meant.
No.
But
it says it in the book.
That's right, 31. But there is speaking. Just, you know, it's folk singing. Folk singing. Yeah. That's it. You know what I mean? You don't have to do it there. When your legs don't work like they used to. Just bring it there. If that's the way you're going to sound, that there's no harm in that.
Exactly.
But don't try to do it up here. I can't do it the whole song up on D. Not in that voice. I support it, and I sound more like Mickey Thomas doing it.
I'll do the Paul Rogers and Chris Cornell version.
Yeah, you do your
break
thing.
Everyone out.
Yeah, it's like you can't. Not when it goes to those high parts. When it goes people fall in love in the state. You can't speak that. He does speak it, but he does it when it's in the lower key.
I'll do it an octave down, or it'll be like the goth rock version. Sisters of Mercy.
Totally.
Dude,
all
right.
We gotta go. It's 1:44. I'm gonna make dinner.
All right, man. Lovely to see you. We should do this more regularly.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it for sure. I miss seeing you. It's good seeing you.
You too, man. All right. Happy Christmas, all that stuff, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely, man. Be good.
Thanks, man. See ya. Bye.
Bye.